Thanks for staying to hear this presentation. I'm Melinda from Avidly. We actually haven't really expanded our operations outside of China since 2016, and so this is kind of our first time to come to speak at a large gaming event like this and present what we have been working on and a way that we want to propose to work with studios and even publishers outside of China. So I wouldn't say it's the right way of publishing, and the title isn't about light publishing is what we call it. Actually, I wanted to kind of explain how we came to arrive at the idea of working through light publishing, and it's kind of an opportunity also to give Avidly some feedback or comments about what you guys think about this model of working with partners. So I'm a little brain dead from jet lag since 2 a.m. Okay, so then just, if I'm missing anything, I will go through this quickly because I'm not a UA or monetization expert. It's more generic publishing model that I'm going to talk about. So I would leave more time for questions. So I wanted to break down the session and kind of the talk in three big parts. One is to look at kind of the context of China where we built the business on. So we started out in 2016 to publish games for Chinese developers globally. We didn't publish them in China. And kind of I wanted to show like the trends that are happening in China that kind of propelled us to do this. The second is based on the foundation of business that we have, the kind of data that we've been able to accumulate working with all these developers in China, and the technology and the kind of the granularity that we focused on trying to optimize publishing in general. And then thirdly is that new way that we are proposing to work with partners outside of China, and this is where we'd hope to hear from you guys as well. So I'll start with China's export market. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this. You might be. But okay, first about Avidly. So we started in 2016. Before that, we were actually an Android developer. And then that exited to a very large internet company at that time in China. The whole team, the founders, started to reorient into social gaming. These are some of our biggest titles. We have a range from hyper casual now to casual to even mid-hardcore, mostly focused on Southeast Asia and Japan. But this is kind of like our whole portfolio. The 150 games that we've published up to date, that's not all of them are online anymore. Some of them are off shelf. So this is just kind of a idea of the scale that we have right now on publishing. So we were able to take advantage of China's this huge push towards getting the developers to make games and target the global market and not China. As you know, like the policies around game content domestically is getting tighter and tighter, not just for in-app purchase, but also for ads. So they are and you can see from the global user spend here that users are actually, players outside of China are actually quite, what's the word? They quite like the games that are coming out from Chinese developers. So we've been working with this group of developers, and we're still continuing to expand that network. The second here is just to show kind of the main market. So you can see it's still a lot of tier 1 markets, Middle East, Africa, Southeast Asia. These are growing. So we are actually doing a lot of this UA activity, user acquisition, for a lot of our partners' games in these markets. This is a projection, so up till 2021. And this is not even counting ad revenue. So we're expecting that a lot more are going to come out of China, and they are going to be competing globally with other games that are also not published in China. So this is kind of just a scale of revenue that you could see. It's going to be 30 to 40% by next year. And so I've been hearing like everybody talking about this hybrid monetization model. So actually there aren't a lot of developers or studios in China that are choosing to monetize the hybrid way. I think it's catching on. We are, in a way, pushing them to monetize, to add ads into their games. They're kind of not really, the desire isn't that great, but there's a growth, and we see that they are going to kind of add more ads into their games, and this hybrid model is actually going to take on more. So you're going to see more games, Chinese-made games, competing on the global stage with more of a hybrid monetization model. The context of the market that we have been building the business around, we not only publish, but we also help them optimize their monetization in the games. So right now we have almost 3,000 game apps from all over kind of 200 developers or publishers in China, and over half of that, so I think over 1,000 we actually manually optimize, and this is for their in-game ad mechanism, ad logic, ad design placements, and it was a monetization platform that we built in-house for Avidly, but we kind of opened that up for our partners. So this is kind of the numbers in terms of monetization that we are working on. So here we do have a comprehensive report that we released this year, but it's in Chinese, so I didn't bring any. But in it, we kind of look at all the different kind of ad formats and how they impact retention rates, and what metrics should you actually care about, such as, there's a penetration rate, that equation that we actually look at instead of just focusing on optimizing your eCPM. So based on this market, Chinese market going global, we've been able to build kind of a proprietary big data engine, and we're still every year we're trying to drive more value out of this kind of big data engine, and to get more ways to help our partners publish more effectively. So next I'm going to talk a little bit about the two pillars. I'm just going to quickly go through them. The two pillars that we have been focusing on our publishing core competency on, and the product itself. When we evaluate a game, we do look at a lot of the product design, but we focus primarily on what we can do, which is mostly UA and monetization, and we think that these three things have to go hand in hand in order to make a product successful. So in terms of UA, these are the three pillars that we mainly look at. Creative and assets, this year we actually have a plan to get more granular in terms of ranking them during our campaigns. So I can't share too much. Hopefully next year I'll be able to. But basically what we're trying to do here is to spend the least amount of money to acquire the best users. So later I'll talk a little bit more about this. In terms of ad monetization, so based on the almost 3,000 games that we have, this is kind of there's nothing, secretive about this equation, which is why I confirmed with our monetization lead we can put this out here. But this is mainly to show that how we optimize for an impression. And it's very much, a lot of this weight is put on this user level ad value or a label that we give them when they enter the game. And we have almost 3,000 games that we have done this for. So there are some patterns that you can see with different genres. And this is mainly ad behavior. So this is just to give you an idea on the monetization side, how granular it gets. Okay, and then this is just to illustrate that we, as a publishing house, we don't do any in-house development. We work with our partners, and we rely on them for the content and their development. So they're relying on, okay, so there's a mess up in format. It should go from, so we're looking from impression to click, download, install, and for some games, even registration, and then you continuously track that engagement. So we are constantly looking at, based on understanding this, not funnel, but this kind of logic behind UA and connection between UA and monetization, we thought really hard about, as a publishing company, we have all these third parties that we rely on data and analytics and optimization. What can we do based on our own data and our foundation to connect this entire process? And so actually we came up with something proprietary last year. And this is kind of a screenshot of how it kind of looks like on the back end of our monetization platform, which we opened up for our partners, is to connect UA and monetization. So based on the granularity of, our users' ad behavior information, we are able to track or measure their ad revenue per user on the per user level, and use this information to connect to, so we can actually connect this level of information back to AppsFlyer, whether you're using AppsFlyer or whether you're using Adjust, to connect it back to your campaign ROI. And here I circled these two things is mainly to show that actually only a very small percentage of your users contribute to most of your revenue. And you can see that new users, so there are a lot of factors that would go into impacting your ad revenue. And we wanted to get a little bit more, detailed about how that looks exactly, and then help our partners to use that level of information back into their user acquisition strategy. So we did this for our own game, and we actually use this for all of our games right now. It connects to our in-house publishing all-in-one kind of data system, and we have this user level ad revenue data level that's plugged into all our UA spend per channel. And so for this game, you could look it up on the Play Store, we were able to determine, so you can look at how this would impact our decision. And even for some of the social casino games like Bingo Party that we have, this level of information actually was able to help us raise ROI by between 10 to 40%. And we test this on our own games, and we are actually hoping that more games could benefit from this level of data. Okay, and so this is kind of just to illustrate our back-end all-in-one publishing system that we have, that we use. We actually built it from scratch in 2016 when we started publishing games, and then it follows the product throughout its life cycle. So our partners actually just focus on the development, and they just hand over the game to us. This is for like a traditional publishing model. So we do everything around this, and we make sure that we actually are able to project, the kind of ROI that you'll be seeing throughout the life cycle. Which brings to what Mike said about the right publishing model. We actually, so I'm over time now, so we actually thought really hard about what can we do with this level of technology that we have to work with more partners. And we actually thought maybe we don't have to always publish a game for them. For those who want to self-publish, we actually propose something called white label publishing. So this is like, you publish the game under your own brand, under your own account, and we do everything around it. So remember that triangle with UA monetization. We'll do everything around that game and be able to still use what we have, that whole product lifecycle projection model, to help you to kind of model out the ROI. And actually, the terms are quite simple. So in this case, we are not a publisher really anymore, although we do everything a publisher does. But we're kind of just the service, we're kind of just the service provider to help your game succeed, and we take a minority of the profit share. So why I say profit share is because this would be total revenue minus UA cost. So everything is very transparent on what we spend, since everything is data driven. So I'm out of time. But the key thing here is that we wanted to basically help more games, help more ideas with the methodology that we have and the capabilities that we have, and we can create more repeated success, not just for games that we publish. You can add me here, and I do look forward to hearing all your feedback, and thanks, Mike.
Fantastic. Melinda, thank you very much.